Hey guys, in this video I would talk about Android versus Apple in 2017. First, my story, I'm switching from a Moto G and I've been using Android for about 3.5 years. My last iPhone device was an iPhone 4S and I made the switch to an iPhone 6. And although these are both, like, one is not the greatest device and the other one is more of an older model, I still do think I have a great idea on how this works out. I used to work in the car business, and one of the things I learned about the car business about 3 or 4 years ago was that nobody really makes a bad car anymore. That's what I'm coming to when it comes to smartphones. No one really makes a bad smartphone anymore. Except for the exploding ones. Sorry, Samsung. So going off of that, let me explain what I mean. Most devices now have a decent screen, most devices have an okay battery life, most devices networking is much better. Most devices just work really, really well. So going off of that, I think I talk about the pros and the cons of both systems. So first I want to start with Android. The pros with Android. I think the biggest thing with Android and what I loved about my Moto G is the simple fact that, okay, now there are high-end Android phones and they run really great. They're definitely more customizable and that's great. But what I love about Android is that there are a lot of companies that are making smartphones for very cheap. You know, if you have $150 now, you can buy a great phone. And think about that. When we're talking about China and when we're talking about India, just the simple fact that more people can get a smartphone. I still remember my first smartphone. It was a Samsung Galaxy Young, and it blew my mind. I want you to think about your first smartphone and just how terrible they were, but the simple fact that you could go online and you could see things, it really opened up your eyes. That is the main pro of Android. It's very customizable and the software runs really, really great, so I've always been a fan of that as well. Now I'll talk about the negatives with Android. The negative with Android is for every great Android device out there, there are still kind of some bad ones. And even though I said no one makes a bad phone, what I mean by that is there's still some questionable companies on that device. So you always have to look through to see what are the best ones. But when we're talking about the average Android phone, yes, they can compete with anything else on the market right now, in my opinion. I think there are a lot of great devices out there. You just have to do your homework a little bit first. The next negative thing with Android, and I hope they can fix, is that the problem with Android is that there are not a lot of companies that are really updating the devices. So unless you buy a Nexus device, that Nexus no longer is being built anymore. Unless you have one that's top of the line, you're not always going to get updates and security updates right away. That was one of the reasons I was willing to switch to iPhone, was that my Moto G is not getting the security updates. You know, it's a bummer to get a phone after 1 year and then suddenly realize you're not going to get the new updates and that it's not going to be supported. Unfortunately, Motorola got bought up by Lenovo, and who knows how it's going to go, but they stopped supporting the Moto G 2015, and I'm not too happy about that. Those are really the only two gripes I have with Android. You know, there's so many positive things with the phone, but those are two big ones. Going off that, the positives of Apple. Now, I got an iPhone 6 right now that I'm actually using to record this device. And the thing is, the iPhone 6 is already 2 years old, and the positive with Apple, it just works. I think that's the biggest thing, is that Apple just works. I mean, to have a phone that's 2 years old, it still runs great. Yeah, I noticed some stuttering with the device, but overall, it runs really, really smoothly. Number two, the apps are customizable to the software, and since the software is built, you know, because you have the Apple device and it runs on Apple-made software, it just runs really well, which is probably one of the reasons that a device can last you 2 years, no issues, no problems. Now let's get on to the negatives of Apple. Now again, I'm an Android user, but I hate not having a back button. Yeah, that's another way you can fix it. But sometimes on the Apple, I still feel that there are some steps I'm taking where it's one extra step. I've had this device for 2.5 weeks, so that could be something different I need to work on in the future. The other negative with the device is, yes, you're going to pay a premium price. You're not going to get an iPhone for a cheap price if you're buying it new. So the thing I always feel like is I think that there are top flagship Android phones that are just as comparable with the iPhones, except for the fact that you don't know it's going to get updated. So what would my advice be to you? It depends on what you want to have. I think if you have $200 to spend, it's not a bad option to buy a budget Android device if you can get 2 years out of it. If you have a little bit more money, I might recommend buying an older iPhone because they just seem to run great. Like my iPhone 6, who knows, I could get another 2-3 years out. And the thing is, if you're going to pay a premium price and be able to use a device for 3 to 4 years, that's a good thing. Thanks for watching my video, guys. If you like this one, please subscribe. The one other thing I really want to stress here that I think is great is the fact that we live in a world now where there really aren't bad phones and that smartphones can do so many positive things. I'm so happy about it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.